Marshall, is heaven real?
Yes, heaven's real. But it's hard to think about sometimes because there's a lot of unknown, like, it's so hard for us to even, imagine what it would be like. So,
as a kid though, what were your thoughts of heaven?
I mean, my thought was like sitting on a cloud, like halo, like
Ooh, definitely
Just
had a halo.
a super long
whatever.
church service.
Flying for
like
sure.
exhaustingly long.
Yeah, I had the image of like a big stadium, and every person throughout all of history was in this stadium, stuck eternally singing hymns
It's not.
forever. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, and heaven we'll probably sing in heaven, but it's not all we're gonna do. So
Yeah.
But a verse that I like is actually 1 Corinthians 2:9, and it's not explicitly talking about heaven, but it says, "What no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love Him." And that just kind of takes the burden off us understanding or even having to imagine what it will be like, because here Scripture's telling us like we can't even fathom how great it would be, and so like the joy that we can feel on earth will be nothing like the joy we will feel in heaven, and all good things that we would feel.
Yeah.
So.
And like it's going to be good. Like there's no part in Scripture where it says anything bad about heaven. Everything it tells us, it's like it's going to be more than you could imagine. It's going to be better. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be so much joy. Like it only says good things. The passage I always think about when I think about heaven is from Romans 8, verses 18 through like 25. It's just incredible. Paul is talking about how creation itself, like nature, the creation that we see is broken right now and is fallen in the same way that we are fallen. We are like sin affected creation in the same way that it affected us. And so to think about that all being made new, everything, even creation, Paul says creation waits in eager longing till it is restored. And that idea of creation being made perfect. And because you think about how beautiful the world is, like the things that we see, I mean, just gorgeous pictures and things that we were able to go see and visit, and then thinking that those are like broken versions of something else, that those will be made infinitely better than they are now, just blows my mind to think about like, what does Niagara Falls look like when it's made perfect? Or even us, even our own bodies being made perfect, being resurrected, this new earth, that Scripture talks about. So I'm so excited for that. What is nature gonna look like? What are we gonna look like?
Or like cities, like the city of Nashville.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Not just like natural things, but like things that we actually make. And,
Yeah. And I think that's so important because often we think of heaven, we think of, that kind of ethereal, cloud-like, or ghosts, up there, something's going on. But that's not at all the picture that Scripture gives us. It talks about like the physical redemption of our bodies, the physical redemption of the earth and of cities and nature and all these actual places.
Like it comes down to us rather than just being up there.
It's going to be this picture. So that's what brings me to Revelation 21. And the reason we say yes is because Scripture points over and over and over again that there is a heaven, there is a place that God is preparing for us. And I used to think that Jesus was like literally preparing each of our houses. So like when I first heard like Jesus is preparing a place for us, I thought, wow, he's building us the most decked out like mansions. They're going to be like coolest houses ever.
Well, he was a carpenter.
So maybe. But yeah, our picture in Revelation 21 says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God, and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.' He who was seated on the throne said, 'I am making everything new.' Then he said, 'Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true.'" And this is really our picture of heaven. It is eternity spent with God and in his presence. And in his loving presence, where he's going to wipe away every tear, every trial, every sickness, death, all has been wiped away. And we just get to spend eternity in his presence, celebrating in such great joy. Like, magnify your greatest joy on earth times like 1,000.
Yeah, like the best thing you've ever experienced here is just like a fraction of what it's going to be like there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that picture of God coming to be with his people, not necessarily us going out to be with him. It's so cool.
Yeah. Reverend David, quick
Sadie.
question. Is heaven real?
Yes, definitely. Do you want to elaborate there?
Yeah.
Heaven is definitely real because it's all in the Bible. And one thing that people don't tend to think about is heaven, I think, is less about a place and more about being with God and Jesus and being with all the people who love him. So maybe think of it more like being a huge party and less like being at the beach. Maybe a little bit of both, but don't forget the party.
But heaven is still a mystery. We
Yeah.
really don't know a lot of what it's going to look like or be like. So what are
Will you take naps in heaven? You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
sleep is great. You know,
Will
like
you
a
sleep
gift.
in heaven?
Will you sleep? Will
Do you
have
go
to?
on runs in
Yeah.
heaven?
Can I exercise? Will
How
it be
old
hard?
will you be?
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Do I
but
still
You
have
can
my
pick your
family
age,
members?
obviously.
My big question for heaven is about travel. Can I travel immediately? Can I teleport? That'd be
There.
awesome. But also, can I go see all of outer space? Like you think about all the planets and stuff. Like you watch Interstellar, it's awesome. And so you think like, I want to go there. I want to go to those places. But so maybe I'll be able to just snap my fingers and go to Mars or Jupiter. You know, it'd be sick.
The other thing I've often wondered too is like what food will taste like.
Oh,
Oh, it's gotta be so
Amazing
much
meals,
better.
and it's just
Oh
gonna
my
be
God.
like this just feast.
Because food is so good here.
Food is so good.
how can it get better?
That's amazing. I didn't even think about that. I'm excited to eat in heaven.
Will I go to like block LeBron James? Is that gonna? If my body's perfect, will
All of
I-
a sudden, you're a great basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, let's take me there now.
No,
I don't think
that
so.
would be a lie.
Yeah,
That would be a
I don't
lie.
think
But it's gonna be great, whatever it is. Better than whatever you think it will be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty safe to say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we're excited to keep talking about any random questions that you have. So write in the comments any questions that come up or just message us, let us know, and we'll talk about it. And the goal of this is not to necessarily find the answers, because there's some things that we'll never know the answer to, although we are brilliant.
We know the answers.
But our goal is rather to discuss, because that's what we do as Christians. And so we're just going to keep the dialogue going. Y'all have a great week. See you next time.